Hi, it's Rob and I'm back with another edition of Baxi Cam. Now in this episode I'd like to show you an easy way of changing the Schrader core on the expansion vessel. Now you might want to do this if you've ever tried to recharge the expansion vessel on a service and you get some LDF to test the Schrader valve and you find out that it's bubbling. Now you would need to get yourself a Schrader valve removal tool, which is one of these little things, and that's going to set you back about £4 or £5. And you can get those from like Halfords and places like that. You would also need to get the Schrader core itself, and you can get like a pack of these for, well, these are dirt cheap. You get about 5 or 6 of these for a couple of quid. So what we'll do, we'll get the boiler set up and we'll get cracking. Right then, so hopefully this will show you a nice little quick fix if you've tried to recharge the expansion vessel. Now, let me dive up here. So you've tried to recharge it, you've got your foot pump on there and you've pumped in the air pressure. You'd go and test it with a bit of LDF and you get the bubblies. Excellent. So I guess you could be looking at, I mean, I've tried it in the past. I've got some grease inside there and pushed that up and down a few times. That hasn't done it. I've even gone to the extremities of changing the expansion vessel as well. But, you know, just get yourself a Schrader valve removal tool, get yourself a pack of cores, and this doesn't take very long at all. So what we need to do, obviously first things first, so rewind a bit. You need to do your safe electrical isolation procedure because you want to make sure that that fuse spur turns off that boiler. Now I've already done that, so I'm happy with that. What I can look at doing next is dropping the water pressure out of the boiler. So if I look under here, I've already isolated the flow and I've also isolated the return. On this particular model, we can drain it off via the flow isolation valve with a radiator vent key, and we just turn that anti-clockwise a bit with a bit of luck. Follow that into the sink, and that's draining down like a good one. Now if you wanted to, might be a good opportunity to take a sample of that water, so you could check the concentration levels of your inhibitor. Going back to the pressure gauge, you can see it's dropping slowly, which is good news. Now before we go attempting to take out that Schrader core, we need to make sure that there's no air inside that vessel. So what we can do, grab the pointy end of the removal tool, push it down and just remove any air that you put in previously. So pushing down, wait for it to stop. Because if you didn't do that, if you try to take out the Schrader valve core, well, it'll just fly off under that air pressure, wouldn't it? So don't do that. Just looking at the Schrader valve removal tool, there's a couple of sides to it. That open-ended side there, what that allows you to do is actually clean the thread if you need to. So that will save you maybe cross-threading that plastic dust cap. And then the slotted end is the main bit, isn't it really? That's the bit that allows us to remove the Schrader valve core. So what we can do is position it in, and you can kind of feel it locking in place, and then give it a few turns anti-clockwise. Here it comes, and then we can fish that Schrader valve core out and pop him on top of the boiler. The pointy end will allow us to actually clean the inner section, like so. And then the other end, where are you? There he is. That will actually allow us to clean the internal thread. All right, so if we twist him in a few turns and then back out, just making sure that there's no debris inside that Schrader valve. And then what we need to do is grab a new Schrader core, which is over here. There we go, we'll drop that in, like so. Grab the slotted end of the removal tool, and again you'll feel it lock into place, and just start turning it clockwise. Now you don't have to go nuts with this, just keep doing it until you're feeling it tightening in, and just give it a bit of a pinch in. Nothing more than that really. Okay, pop the Schrader valve removal tool off, and then we can grab our trusty foot pump, stick that on and lock him into place. Now, if you wanted to, you could use a battery operated pump for this, but you know, this is the only workout or exercise that I get these days. So looking at the pressure gauge on the foot pump, you can see the needles are 0. We need to get that up to just under 1 bar, because the optimum setting for an expansion vessel like this one is about 0.8. So here we go. So don't go nuts with this either, you don't have to do it like that, just do it nice and slow, up and down, up and down. and you'll see the gauge rising. Slowly, slowly. There we go, now what are we on? Just nearly there, a couple more. Right, so if we look, we're just under a bar, which is great. So now, go back, take the foot pump off, take that off. You probably heard then, we lost a little bit of air. So getting your foot pump gauge just under 1 and then popping that off, usually find that the air pressure within there now will be about 0.8. Grab your leak detection fluid. Come on, don't embarrass me. Yeah, we're good. Now we're right, we're perfect. So far, so good. Right, if we grab a little bit of tissue and wipe that off. There we go. Chuck that on there for now, I'll get rid of that later. What we can do now is obviously close the drain off, and then we'll open up the flow and return and get that water pressure back into the boiler. There goes my radiator key, excellent. So flow's open, returns open, pressure's just jumped up to just under 1. We'll give it a little drink. So that side and that side open. Almost there. So get it just above the 1 and then turn both sides of your filling loop off like that. We can knock the power back on. Now if your boiler does have a deaeration cycle, it's well worth putting it into that before you go heating the water. So on this model, we grab the central heating control knob, give it a quarter turn clockwise twice in quick succession. It says on, followed by 3, 1, 2, like that. There we go. On, 3, 1, 2, meaning it's gone into deaeration. So you'll be able to hear the pump running. You'll hear the diverter motor pushing down for heating and relaxing for hot water. And all it's trying to do at this moment in time is just get any air out of the main heat exchanger. So it's well worth checking that the dust cap on the automatic air vent at the back is open. And then once you're happy that you can't hear any kind of bubbles circulating around the appliance, if you grab hold of the central heating control knob, turn it past the 1 o'clock position, and then the boiler will be ready for you to check. So once your system starts getting hot, because you've got the radiators running, it's well worth going back up to your Schrader valve, grabbing your LDF again, giving it another squirt, making sure it's not passing, which it's not. Grab your little cloth, wipe that off, like so, chuck that in your bin, grab your little dust cap, pop that back on, and job is a good one. Guys and girls, I hope you found that useful. I'll see you soon.